Welcome to Research Business Daily Report, made possible by RBDR's exclusive community at the crowdfunding platform Patreon.com. When you visit Patreon.com/RBDR, you'll see all sorts of options as to how you can help support RBDR and, in essence, continue this video series. I'm Bob Lederer. 2 weeks ago, the massive multidimensional Consumer Electronics Show held court in Las Vegas, and as has become the custom, chief marketing officers aplenty were there in force. What the CMOs cared most about, from the 4,500 consumer technology exhibitors who spread out over 2.9 million square feet of convention space, was revealed from Maven Magnet, a research company hired by Forbes. With respect to innovation, the studies showed that CMOs focused on data-driven marketing and personalized experiences. Regarding brand fundamentals, consumer-centricity and storytelling dominated. Artificial intelligence areas were most strongly controlled by interest in data analytics. The Senior Vice President of Research for the Consumer Technology Association, Steve Koenig, was busy all week presenting consumer technology trends, and so we asked him to synthesize his top talking points for the benefit of the RBDR audience. Here is what he had to say.
Well, thanks, Bob. And you know what I'm most excited about coming out of CES 2019 is that we're finally seeing so many of these trends, these technologies, really become reality. And what I'm saying is we've seen the first commercial deployments of 5G and self-driving vehicles. If we think about here in the United States market, Verizon and AT&T just last month stood up their very first commercial services for 5G. We're going to expect more carriers to follow, obviously, in 2019. And then also last month, Google's Waymo stood up the first commercial automated mobility as a service business in Phoenix, Arizona. Limited commercial deployment, but that doesn't matter. The fact is we have a real legitimate business employing self-driving vehicles for the very first time, and that's really exciting. But when we look across, I think the whole show floor of CES and just consider all the innovation, all the trends, in what direction are these trends really pointing to? And I think the answer is a fast approaching new era of consumer technology, because I think this decade is really the connected era of consumer tech. And obviously here in 2019, therefore, we're kind of coming to the end of that era. And it's ironic that I think we're less than 20 years into the 21st century, and already we take the internet for granted. And big businesses like Amazon, for example, are wholly built on connectivity and the internet. But again, I think that increasingly when we look at innovation today, data is the common denominator. And whilst you and I, Bob, are the beneficiaries of all this innovation, clearly, I think this is also why we're seeing online privacy and data security become more and more of a talking point and a big issue for business, but also in our culture. And when we look around the world, different places have different ways of dealing or coping with this scenario. Of course, in Europe, they have GDPR, where there is a set of rules that kind of set up some guardrails around what you can do with personal data. You can do these things you have to ask permission for, and then there's a whole other set of personal data that you really can't even touch. And then around the world, in China, you have no expectation of privacy. And so the strategic issue here for me is, does GDPR in the European Union introduce some constraints to innovation, given, as I described, there are things you can do, things you have to ask for, and then things you can't do, whereas in China, there's no privacy, so they ostensibly have all the data. And when we think about data age technologies like artificial intelligence that are going to help us make sense of all this data that we're generating more and more and more of, does that give China some competitive advantages? it's going to be interesting as we move into the data age to see all these things play out. I think we're certainly going to be dealing with a lot more data to our delight and to the benefit of business, but also we're going to be talking a lot more about privacy and certainly data security and encryption. That's what I'm seeing coming out of CES 2019.
That's your Research Business Daily Report. It's been made possible by members of our exclusive community on the crowdfunding platform Patreon.com. This video series is produced thanks to the interest and the support of our viewers who tune in to our videos Monday through Thursday of most weeks. Now, we like to acknowledge our RBDR patrons, and we really want to give a big thank you to one of our existing patrons who generously decided at the beginning of this year to double his monthly pledge because he told us our videos have made a very positive mark on his business. Patreon supporters tell us things like that over and over, and we trust that that is true for many of you out there in the RBDR audience. So if you would like to take advantage of the 45 weeks in 2019 that we will be producing RBDR and the potential chest of information that will be out there to be of value to you, please join our community. You can visit patreon.com/RBDR. Select the level of patronage that best suits you. Have a great research day, and we will see you back here tomorrow.